It was one of the most powerful moments on the president's speech that you'll ever see, actually. A tribute to a widow of a fallen Navy SEAL.
But don't tell that to one former Clinton volunteer who also was an Obama volunteer who tweeted afterwards, "Sorry, Owen's wife, you're not helping yourself or your husband's memory by standing there and clapping like an idiot. Trump just used you," and he called her an idiot.
That worker, fired after a former Navy SEAL wrote his boss at the company called Liberty Advisor Group in Chicago, and the Navy SEAL wrote this in the letter. He said, "He has, in the basest terms, degraded the memory of one of my fallen Navy SEAL brothers by insulting his wife on a public platform. Either Mr. Dan Grillo is completely devoid of humanity, or he is willing to suppress the natural instinct of compassion for a widow for political gain and personal satisfaction. Dan Grillo has brought shame upon himself, and by remaining in your employment, your company, and you."
That former Navy SEAL, Derek Van Orden, rejoins our show, but for the first time talking about this. Derek, how did you just stumble onto this tweet, and why did you feel compelled to attack it?
Well, I have a group of friends that I speak to regularly, active duty and retired Navy SEALs, and this instantly popped up on our little network. And some things need to be addressed directly and immediately, and this was beyond the pale. You do not insult our widows and expect to get away with it. It's just not going to happen.
So what was your reaction?
Wholly inappropriate.
And what was your reaction?
I thought it was a joke initially.
Yeah, what was your reaction when you found out he was fired?
I thought it was fantastic, and I wrote back to the CEO of the company and thanked him and said that I stand corrected, that you are a man of honor, and that you did not bring shame upon yourself or your company. That's how real people have discussions. If we bring up an issue and it's addressed immediately like the CEO did, he should be called out for doing what is good.
Sure.
It's fantastic.
Derek, what did you, when you were listening to the president on Tuesday night speak before the joint session of Congress, and he saluted the widow in the box with Mrs. Trump, what did you think about the fact that he brought her up? Because some on the political left have said, well, look, the president was using her as a prop.
Right. Okay, check this out. I want to say this directly to the President of the United States. Mr. President, by the fact that you brought Karen up there to be a symbol for all of our Gold Star widows, the widowers that are out there, the mothers, sisters, and brothers, was an incredibly classy thing to do. She's a strong woman that has displayed grace in the presence of hurt. So, Mr. President, again, I'm a private citizen now, but you earned my respect and the respect of my fellow Navy SEALs by doing this. And if you need anything, you give me a ring. Thank you for that.
Right. And you remember, you could also see Derek is also one of the stars of Acts of Valor, the DVD that's out. Right. Here's the answer from the Liberty Advisor Group to you. Regardless of whether the comments in the tweet were intended to cause the hurt and anger that they ultimately generated, they were unacceptable to us, and the individual who issued the tweet is no longer, the person who issued the tweet is no longer affiliated with Liberty, so he's gone. So you found out who he was. You offered to drive over there and explain why he shouldn't have done that, and then he deleted his profile and came up with another profile, and you found that.
Yes. Well, cowards are often crafty folks. So what this guy Grillo did, again, is completely unacceptable, and it will not be tolerated by myself or my fellow Navy SEALs. It didn't matter that Karen is a Navy SEAL widow. She's a widow of any service member that was killed in action defending the country and defending our freedoms. We need to stand up for them. We owe them a debt of gratitude that doesn't end with the death of their spouse, either their husband or their wife. That is a lifelong commitment, and if we can do anything to assuage their grief, then we should do that as a nation. That's exactly what the President of the United States was attempting to do, and he did incredibly successfully at this joint session of Congress. To degrade the effort that he made to bring glory to these people, my fellow Navy SEALs and the other service members that have been killed in action defending our freedoms, to try to degrade that is disgraceful.
There's
no excuse for it.
The president's political enemies are saying,
Right.
well, that was not a good mission. We didn't get enough out of it. How dare he do this mission?
Right.
What perspective should we have when we are analyzing this mission?
We should have the perspective of American citizens that are grateful that there are men and women that are willing to go into harm's way to defend us. It should start and stop there. Rosie O'Donnell is probably a wonderful person, but she is not a military analyst of any renown. She is not. And when we're talking about Michael Moore and Bill Maher and those cats saying that she was used as a prop, I fully expect it out of those guys. They're agitators. In the parlance of unconventional warfare, we would call them agent provocateurs. I expected that out of them. I also expect someday to see Bill Maher riding on Michael Moore's back fighting Mad Max in the Thunderdome. Those are the types of acts I expect out of those cats. I get it, but for an average citizen like Mr. Grillo is, to think that it is even remotely acceptable to insult the widow of a fallen service member
Right.
speaks volumes about the character of these individuals.
It does indeed. All right, Derek Van Orden, former Navy SEAL, who wrote the letter and got the guy fired. Derek, thank you very much for joining us today from Wausau, Wisconsin.
And serving our country.
Absolutely.
You are welcome. Have fun out there in New York.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Derek, a man
You
of
have
action.
fun in Wausau. All right.